Hello, folks. I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news, news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. First thing I got for you here from Newsmax: IRS to hire armed agents.
The Internal Revenue Service is hiring armed special agents to work in all 50 states as part of the agency's larger hiring push. The job posting is listed by the Criminal Investigation Section of the IRS, the agency's law enforcement branch. The position would involve investigating financial crimes and potential violations of the Internal Revenue Code, and requires that applicants be a U.S. citizen, qualified from specialized experience or education, at least 21 years of age by the time their training would be complete, and legally allowed to carry a firearm. Among the major duties listed, be willing and able to participate in arrests, execution of search warrants, and other dangerous assignments. Other duties: carry a firearm, must be prepared to protect him/herself or others from physical attacks at any time and without warning, and use firearms in life-threatening situations, must be willing to use force up to and including the use of deadly force. The application process involves multiple steps, including a written application, an online assessment of competency, a manual review of the application and assessment, a proctored exam administered online, an in-office interview, background check, medical evaluation, offer of employment, and basic training.
Okay, that's all I got on that one there. I'll put the link in my description box anyway if you want to go back over it. And they got a small video here. I'm going to play a part of it.
Tax day. According to IRS data, Americans are projected to receive $20 billion less in tax refunds this year. Oh, good news. Analysts fear that will drop further pressure on an already fragile U.S. economy. Right on cue, abolish the IRS, trending on Twitter today. Democrats want us to believe that paying our taxes is a patriotic duty, but working Americans simply aren't buying that, as they are now forced to fund a government they know is incompetent and a government the vast majority of our people do not trust. Joining me now is President of Americans for Tax Reform, Grover Norquist. It's great to see you, sir. You know, I've run into some folks lately, mostly on Twitter, with the attitude that we should just accept our fate. The government's going to take our money whether we want them to or not. But that's completely antithetical, in my view, to our American system. Is it the taxpayer's responsibility to finance every stupid idea government comes up with, Grover?
No, it's Congress's job to make sure that and the president to make sure that government spending is on things that are mentioned once or twice in the Constitution. And there's a great deal of present-day federal government, state and local government, that is extra constitutional, that there is no justification for, and that I don't know that we'll get courts to knock it down, although this court's capable of doing some of that. But it really is something that we need to elect House, Senate presidents that take this seriously and are willing to rein in spending. We are seeing this in the 50 states. Some states are being serious about spending reduction, spending restraint. Others are not. And it gives you a good idea of what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Our tax code.
Okay, you can watch the rest of this in my description box if you like. Yeah, there's a lot of states that are trying to, make cuts. Biden, he's trying to spend more. Biden says, not my money. We just spend it. Make the American people pay. Let's go to the next one here. Oh, yeah, by the way, I didn't get that part yet. Right here. No, not right there either. I'll tell you later. Anyway, this one here is from Newsmax. Greene to Newsmax. Fox caved to the woke mob and firing Carlson.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican Georgia, told Newsmax on Wednesday that Fox News caved to the woke mob by firing top host Tucker Carlson earlier this week. Appearing on Eric Balling the Balance, Greene said Fox News' decision is devastating to the First Amendment right to freedom of speech and challenging the powers that be. Our First Amendment is free speech, but it's also freedom of press, Greene said. And when a gigantic media company like Fox News fires their number one, Tucker Carlson, not for him doing anything wrong, not because his ratings are bad, but they literally fired him because they caved to the woke mob. Now, Greene said, Fox News is paying the price for canceling Carlson, who was pushing the limit every single night on his show and telling the news stories that the American people wanted to hear. I'm hearing from many people who have deleted their Fox News apps. I'm hearing from many people that have canceled their Fox Nation subscriptions, Greene said. She further compared conservatives' response to the Fox News decision to the backlash and boycott that followed Bud Light's partnership deal with TikTok sensation and transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney. They fired Tucker Carlson, so they're going to feel the results from Americans that are not happy about this, Greene said, adding the writing is on the wall for Americans. We completely understand what we're seeing from Fox News. Rumors have swirled following Carlson's departure from Fox News on Monday, with reports connecting it to a recent $787.5 million defamation lawsuit settlement with Dominion Voting Systems, ongoing lawsuits, and even his conduct on the show. However, neither side has provided an official reason for his termination. Carlson broke his silence for the first time since his firing with a video on Twitter on Wednesday night, but he did not address the reason for his abrupt departure from Fox.
Now let me play a little bit of this video here.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, welcome back, Congresswoman. Great to have you back. So, how about you MAGA extremist, you?
Thanks so much for having me back, Eric. Yeah, when I saw that I was featured in Joe Biden's re-election ad, I took to Twitter and I said, I think we should define what extreme MAGA really means. And I made a list of about 13 different things, and it means something like this: extremely secure borders, extremely good economy, extremely low crime, extremely good education for our children. That's the type of list I put together because Joe Biden doesn't even know what Make America Great Again means. Joe Biden has spent 2 years now with America Last policies and destroying our great country. So, I think the Democrats need a lesson, and they need to understand what MAGA, especially extreme MAGA, is all about.
Joe Biden can barely figure out where he is on a day-to-day basis. Congresswoman, he said the theme of his re-election campaign is let's finish the job, and it harkens back to finish what job, Mr. President? Finish the job of bankrupting the country, finish the job of draining the wallets of the American families, allowing millions of invaders to come through our borders. I don't know. What job is he talking about?
Yeah, he doesn't know, and that's the problem. What really concerns me, though, is the Democrats have announced they're not even going to have debates in their presidential primary, and they have other declared presidential candidates running against Joe Biden. It just seems like the fix is in when it comes to their Democrat presidential primary, and what really concerns me is they don't even seem concerned about winning the 2024 election. They just keep carrying on with their horrific policies, and they never change course.
So that video I'm going to play is probably up almost 10 minutes long. I just lost my counter thought here. Anyway, I did take Fox off my Roku, like I told you, off my phone. I did delete them off my Roku account. My YouTube account. And yeah, right here. It says, First Amendment right to freedom of speech and challenging the power to be. Our First Amendment is free of speech, but it's also freedom of press, Greene said. And you can watch the rest of this in my description box. The link will be down below. And here's something here from Newsmax. Ukraine tried to kill Putin with drone strikes.
Agents for Ukraine's Secret Service tried to assassinate Russian President Vladimir Putin with a drone carrying explosives Sunday, but it fell short of its target, German newspaper Bild reported Thursday. The UJ-22 drone, the most modern Ukrainian medium-range drone with a range of nearly 500 miles, took off from Ukraine on Sunday carrying about 37 pounds of C4 explosives, Bild reported. Its target was a newly built industrial park in Rednevo southeast of Moscow that Putin was said to be visiting. Ukrainian activist Yuri Romanenko, who is said to have close ties to Ukraine's intelligence services, according to Bild, said in a letter claiming responsibility, "Last week, our intelligence officers received information about Putin's trip to the Rednevo industrial park. Accordingly, our kamikaze drone took off, which flew through all the air defenses of the Russian Federation and crashed not far from the industrial park." Romanenko tweeted Monday about the attempt, beginning it with Putin, "We are getting closer." Bild reported several private Russian media outlets said a UJ-22 drone crashed near the village of Voroskogo, east of the industrial park. The drone was said to carry 30 bricks of C4, a common plastic explosive used by the U.S. Army for demolition. Bild reported Pavel Zarubin, a propagandist for Putin, said Sunday morning that Putin was planning to visit an industrial park in Moscow, but did not indicate when. Putin's visits sometimes are conducted the day before they are announced, Bild reported. But Russian state news agency TASS reported Putin visited the park Thursday and talked about his country's drone program, which he said could be worth up to $12.2 billion. TASS reported unmanned aerial vehicles will be produced at the industrial park, work on which was started in 2020 and completed this year. There has been no mention in official Russian media about the assassination attempt.
Okay, that's all I got on that one there. Let's see what this, I'm going to play a short of this video here.
He's willing to work with us on our concerns about balancing the budget. But we are still a long way from a balanced budget. And let's welcome in now Congresswoman Nancy Mace. It's great to see you again, Congresswoman.
Thank you for having me. And you're right, we are a long way away from it. But we worked with Kevin McCarthy on Wednesday, and we're going to be leading a balanced budget amendment legislation in the House. And that we need to show leadership on this issue because, quite frankly, both Republicans and Democrats alike are the reason that we're in this debacle today. We had $8 trillion added to the debt under President Trump. So far under President Biden, $4 trillion. That's $12 trillion of debt on the backs of hardworking Americans just in the last 6 years. And it's got to stop.
Yeah, I was going to note that since you've been elected, we've seen this $10 trillion increase in our national debt. I want to post a tweet here from former Congressman Justin Amash. He talked about something that you mentioned there, that the Democrats' plan will increase the national debt to $52 trillion by 2033. The Republican plan will increase the national debt to $47 trillion by 2033. And he says these parties are not being led by serious people. Do you think those projections are accurate? And it seems like unless we really do get serious about cutting our national debt, we're playing Russian roulette with our economy.
The numbers don't lie, and there are, if you do the math, you can get to 47 trillion versus 53 trillion, Democrat versus Republican, and it's like going 80 miles per hour versus going 60 miles per hour. But at least on Wednesday, we put the ball in Biden's court. He's dropping the ball right now because he's unwilling to negotiate with Republicans on this. And if it fails, it'll be in the hands of the far left who are unwilling to negotiate. Because I'll tell you, both in 1994, then in 2010, when Republicans had the majority, they put forth plans to balance the budget over about 10 years. It ended up being done faster than that.
In the budget, but
okay, that wasn't about the Ukraine. But anyway, if you want to watch that, you can watch that later. This next one here from Newsmax. Biden looks to Wall Street for $1 billion campaign backing. Now, what I want to tell you earlier was anything that start with the word president, I'm skipping. I'll start with Joe, not president, because I don't see him as a president.
Joe Biden is courting Wall Street execs in an effort to beat the $1 billion campaign fundraising haul he landed in 2020, the Financial Times reported. Within hours after his Tuesday's re-election campaign announcement, Biden's team was finalizing a two-day Washington event that will bring together Wall Street financiers and other donors, the news outlet said. Biden and his wife, Jill, are expected to be on hand for the event. Included in the list of attendees is Evercore's Roger Altman, Centerview's Blair Efron, and Blackstone's John Gray. Biden's team had been preparing for an event that featured 60 large donors, but now more than double that number are expected to attend, The Times said, attributing the information to two people briefed on the guest list. The outlet said it interviewed a dozen potential donors, who predicted Biden would have a commanding fundraising advantage as an incumbent who is not facing a serious Democrat challenger. Many of the donors said they were enthused by Biden's determination to prevent former President Donald Trump from regaining the White House. However, several mentioned that Biden will have to overcome concerns about his age among voters. The need for money will be profound, said Bruce Heyman, a former U.S. ambassador to Canada and former Goldman Sachs banker. I believe in Joe Biden. I think we're in a crisis moment with regard to the threat to democracy as we know it. Mohsen Megji, head of the restructuring advisory firm M3 Partners, said, I've been a Biden supporter all along, and I want to make sure that they are standing up for business. The Times, citing information from Open Secrets, a campaign finance data site, said that in 2020, Biden's campaign raised $1.04 billion, while Trump's brought in $774 million. However, the amount sent was much higher due to the funds poured into the campaigns by political action committees. Meanwhile, Act Blue, the Democrats' online fundraising platform, said it brought in 24.7% more in the first quarter of 2023 than it did during the same time period 4 years earlier. And 57.2% of donors made multiple contributions in Q1, showing small-dollar donors sustained engagement and investment in the campaigns, organizations, and issues they support, according to a press release posted Thursday.
Now you notice up here it says, if I don't lose it. So here I think we're all in crisis moment with regard to the threat to democracy as we know it. It's Biden's fault. It really is. Anyway, it's going to get worse, trust me. Let's go to the next one here. This is from Newsmax. Gallup poll, from the Gallup poll. Biden's approval rating is 37%, all-time low.
Joe Biden's approval rating has plummeted to 37%, the lowest since he's been in the Oval Office, according to a new Gallup poll. Biden's disapproval rating is at 59%. Prior to the current poll, his lowest approval rating in the Gallup poll had been 38% in July 2022, with 59% disapproval. But, aside from that, for most of the last 19 months, his approval rating has hovered in the poll's low 40% range. Last month, the poll had recorded a 40% approval rating with 56% disapproval. His all-time high came in April 2021, with a 57% approval rating and 40% saying they disapproved. Here are how the results, released on Thursday, break down. 4% of Republicans say they approve of the way Biden is handling the job. 83% of Democrats say they approve. 31% of independents say they approve. 16% say they rate the economy as excellent or good. 37% say it is only fair. 47% rate it as poor. 19% say the economy is getting better, compared to 75% who say it is getting worse. The poll, conducted April 3 to 25, surveyed 1,013 adults. The full sample has a margin of error of plus or minus 4 percentage points.
This from Bloomberg. Biden's donors haven't cut enough big checks yet. Worry allies.
Bloomberg, Democrats are concerned that President Joe Biden hasn't raised enough money from donors in the initial days since his Tuesday re-election announcement, potentially underscoring the perception that his run isn't exciting voters. The sluggish fundraising comes from a lack of outreach to major donors who can boost the early total by making big contributions to the Democratic Party, according to sources close to the campaign. Despite the slow start, Biden will have no trouble raising money, said the people, who requested anonymity because of the sensitivity of the subject. But those close to Biden are worried they won't have a big number to announce after the president formally launched his bid Tuesday morning, one person said. The campaign had planned to release fundraising totals after 48 hours, but may wait to generate more donations, the person said. Biden isn't required to disclose fundraising totals until July, but campaigns often voluntarily share numbers shortly after announcing their launch to illustrate excitement. A Biden campaign spokesman didn't provide comment. The money itself is less of a concern for Biden, who is easily on track to be renominated without a costly primary. But fundraising totals are a proxy for enthusiasm. Even a large number of Democrats preferred he not run again because of his age, polls show. Biden is the oldest person elected U.S. president and would be 86 at the end of a second term. One reason for the slow fundraising pace is that there has been a lack of coordination with major donors to write checks the day of his announcement, the people said. Campaigns frequently work with major donors on the timing of contributions to get the maximum attention on the large fundraising haul. Many big donors didn't receive requests to give money on the first day, one person said. Since Biden's announcement, the campaign has sent text messages to supporters from the president, First Lady Jill Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff seeking donations, as well as an email from former President Barack Obama. On Thursday evening, the President, First Lady, Harris and Emhoff held a virtual campaign strategy call with supporters. Incumbents have a fundraising edge since they also raise money for their party and can accept much bigger checks than challengers. Donors can write $889,600 checks to the Biden Victory Fund, which raises money for the president's campaign, the Democratic National Committee and 47 state parties. Former President Donald Trump took advantage of that, raising $24.8 million for his campaign and the Republican National Committee in less than 24 hours after he officially launched his campaign for re-election in June 2019. Biden raised $6.3 million in the 24 hours after he announced his candidacy that year. Trump had a much more modest haul after he announced his third run for the White House on November 15. He didn't release a total, but he raised less than $3.4 million through WinRed, an online Republican fundraising platform, over his first 2 days as a candidate, an analysis of filings with the Federal Election Commission show. On the Republican side, many major donors have decided to withhold contributions until it's apparent if a clear challenger to Trump will emerge. With assistance from Justin Sink. Updates with campaign strategy call in 10th paragraph.
Okay, let me go on to the next one now. This one here is from Associated Press. China flies 38 warplanes near Taiwan, 6 naval vessels in area.
Taipei, Taiwan AP. China's military flew 38 fighter jets and other warplanes near Taiwan, the Taiwanese Defense Ministry said Friday, in the biggest such flight display since the large military exercise in which it simulated sealing off the island earlier in April. Naval vessels were also seen in the area as part of China's long-running campaign of intimidation against Taiwan. Later Friday, China's People's Liberation Army issued a protest over the flight of a United States Navy P-8A Poseidon anti-submarine patrol aircraft through the Taiwan Strait, which separates mainland China from the self-governing island democracy claimed by Beijing. Calling Thursday's flight a provocation that the U.S. openly hyped up, the PLA's Eastern Theater Command said it scrambled fighter jets to monitor the plane's flight.
And you can read the rest of that in my description box. There's a lot more to read. Go on to the next one now. This one here is from Business Insider. A Russian inspector satellite appears to be chasing a secret U.S. military satellite in a game of cat and mouse.
A Russian satellite appears to be stalking a classified U.S. military satellite in a cat-and-mouse chase. A series of Russian satellites that appear to be inspectors are passing close to targets in orbit. See how much detail an inspector satellite could get on an adversary spacecraft in an image below. In a cat-and-mouse chase through space. A mysterious Russian satellite and a confidential U.S. military satellite appear to be engaged in a cat-and-mouse chase through space. The Russian spacecraft, called Cosmos 2558, was launched into the same orbital plane as the U.S. satellite, called USA 326, in August 2022 and has regularly passed close to the American spacecraft ever since. The behavior of Cosmos 2558, and the lack of a formal explanation from Russia, has led space observers to believe that the probe is stalking USA 326. It's at least the third satellite Russia has launched that appears to be an inspector, a spacecraft aiming to gather up-close data on another satellite. The image below shows just how much detail an inspector satellite might be able to capture when photographing its target. A Maxar satellite, which usually images Earth, took this photo as it flew past a discarded piece of a Japanese rocket in orbit.
It's the photo here. And there's more to read when we read the rest of it. Also, there's multiple pictures here. Oh. Let me go to the next one now. This one, Real Clear Politics. No Longer the Unforgivable Sin.
I was told early in my career that lying to reporters was the unforgivable sin. Spin was accepted and expected, but lying was a career ender. Lie to a reporter and not only would that reporter never trust you again, but would ensure his fellow scribes knew of the transgression and would avoid you as a source. Case in point, as Director of Public Affairs at the U.S. Department of Justice in February 2004, I was routinely asked by reporters if the department had opened an investigation into the leak of CIA agent Valerie Plame's identity. On Friday, February 6th, I informed them that no investigation was open, only to learn the criminal division had opened one late that night without notifying anyone. Even the Attorney General's office was caught unaware. When the story about the investigation was leaked and broke Tuesday morning, I arrived at my office to a crowd of angry reporters led by USA Today's Tony Losai, who berated me with a barrage of four-letter words which were enthusiastically endorsed by her colleagues. And then she branded me a bleeping liar. When she finished and the grumbling subsided, I explained the timeline and that I hadn't lied, and the career attorney who launched the investigation vouched for me. I was forgiven, but it's not an experience anyone on either end of the government-media relationship wants to experience. At least that's what I thought.
And there's more to read on that if you want to read the rest of it. A lot more to read. I'll go to the next one now. News starting to get a little long here. This is breaking news from Al Jazeera. Air raid alerts sound throughout Ukraine. Multiple cities hit.
Air raid sirens have sounded across Ukraine, with explosions reported in multiple cities. Blasts were heard in Dnipro, Kremenchuk and Poltava in central Ukraine in the early hours of Friday, the Interfax Ukraine news agency reported. There were also explosions heard in Mykolaiv in the south, as well as the region around Kiev, it said.
And that's all it said on that one there. Go to my last one here. This popped up on my news channel, screensaver, from military.com, or military news rather. Electric military vehicles are part of Biden climate agenda, Pentagon says. See how that floats.
Fleets of electric vehicles ready to shoulder the military's workload and slash greenhouse gas emissions over the coming decade. That's what the Pentagon is hoping it can pull off as part of President Joe Biden's efforts to combat climate change, Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks said Monday. Tactical vehicles will first go hybrid, using a mix of fossil fuels and electricity, before making a full transition, while about 170,000 non-tactical cars and trucks used on military bases could go right to electric, Hicks said while touting the climate initiatives at Wayne State University in Michigan. Electric vehicles are quiet. They have a low heat signature and incredible torque, and because they tend to be low maintenance with fewer moving parts, they have the potential to reduce logistics requirements, she said. Read next. Troops with family trapped in Afghanistan get It's an ambitious initiative. The military's non-tactical vehicle fleet alone is the second largest in the federal government next to the U.S. Postal Service, while the Defense Department is by far the largest user of fossil fuels due in part to its tactical vehicle fleet. The Army has more than 242,000 tactical wheeled vehicles such as the Humvee, according to the Government Accountability Office. The proposed shift echoes the Navy's Great Greene Fleet plans a decade ago under the Obama administration, which was similarly focused on reducing greenhouse gases and climate change. Under Navy Secretary Ray Mabus, the service spent about 7 years trying to adapt ships and aircraft to run on domestically supplied biofuels which are made from plants such as corn and animal fat and waste such as manure instead of conventional fossil fuels. But dropping oil prices and limited supplies of the alternative fuels left the Great Greene Fleet with limited reach when President Barack Obama left office in 2017. Mabus, a former Democratic governor of Mississippi, had set a goal in 2009 that the Navy and Marine Corps would get 50% of their fuel from alternative sources by 2020. He said reducing dependence on oil would mean fewer risky fuel convoys on the battlefield and give the U.S. a tactical advantage. Hicks couched the new push under Biden in similar language, saying electric vehicles will expand military capabilities but also come with technical hurdles that will require help from civilian industry. The Army Ground Vehicle Systems Center in Warren, Michigan, is developing a new microgrid technology that could provide power to future hybrid or electric vehicles on the battlefield, Hicks said.
Okay, there's more to read if you want to read the rest of it. Not a whole lot more, but there's more. Just imagine, have with the eternal all electric vehicles and the battery runs out in the battlefield. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Use electric rockets, electric ammo? Crooked Biden, dummy Biden, actually. Anyway, that's all I got for you. He pisses me off a lot. And don't forget, I am out for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. I hope I got enough information for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, at least come back once in a while. Until next time, thanks for watching. Later.